Hi, this is Ashish from Developer Hut, and welcome to the first topic of Java 17 feature series, which is sealed classes. So, what is sealed classes? So, sealed classes is an mechanism which is added in Java 17. This mechanism is used to restrict the inheritance hierarchy of class or an interface. This means that sealed classes or an interface explicitly declares which other classes or interface are permitted to extend or implement it. So let us understand this with very simple example. So now let's say we have a shape interface which is used by the other classes like circle, rectangle, and triangle classes. These classes can also used by the other classes or extended by the other classes. Now, let's say if you don't want this shape interface to be implemented by any other class. Now, as of now, you want only the circle, rectangle, and triangle class should implement the shape interface and not by the other classes. You also want some of the other classes not to be extended. However, you want few other classes open for the extension. So for this purpose, we have an sealed classes concepts in Java 17. So now in sealed classes, Java introduced three different keywords. So the first keyword is a sealed keyword, which is used to seal the class or an interface. The next, we have a permits keyword, which is used in conjunction with the sealed keyword. This keyword is used to tell the compiler that what are the classes or interfaces are permitted for this particular interface or the classes. And lastly, we have a non-sealed keyword, which is exactly opposite of the sealed keyword. So now let's see how we can use the sealed classes and all these keywords in an actual scenario. So now here I have created a very simple Java project which consists of three classes and one interface. So we have a shape interface which contains area and parameter methods, and the circle, rectangle, and triangle classes implementing the shape interface as per their implementation. So now here let's use the seal classes. So now let's restrict this shape interface only for these three particular classes. So the first thing that we need to do here is we need to mark this interface as a sealed interface. So here I will say this interface is sealed interface. So we add the sealed keyword. Now, the next thing is you need to tell that what are the classes which are permits to this particular interface. So now we will use the permits keyword. So I will say permits. Then we have a circle. Then we have a rectangle. And lastly, we have a triangle. Okay. So now this shape interface is sealed and only these three classes can use the shape interface. Now let's go to the circle class. As you can see, circle is showing the compile time error. So whenever you are using the sealed keyword in any other interface or a classes, you need to make sure that their implementing classes either should be final, sealed, or non-sealed. So now we don't want the circle class to be extended. So we will simply use the final keyword. This means that this is the permitted class. However, the final keyword makes sure that this class is not for extension. So this is how it is, right? So shape interface tells that circle is a permitted class. However, the final keyword makes sure that this cannot be subclassed further. Okay, so this is the first thing that we do. We mark the class as a final class so that it cannot be extended. Next, we have a rectangle class. Now, we want this rectangle class is open for extension. But as of now, we don't know what other kind of new classes will implement this. Okay, so to achieve this, we will use a non-seal keyword. So I will say non-seal. Okay, so now this class is open for extension, which is exactly opposite of the circle class. Okay, now we have a triangle class which implementing the shape interface. Now we will use one more class which will extend the triangle. However, I only want that particular class to be used as extension of the triangle. So we mark this class as a sealed class first, and which is of course implementing the shape interface. And I will say here it permits equilateral triangle, let's say. So I will say equilateral triangle. Okay, so let's create this class, and I will here say let's create the class, and I will say yeah, so this should be a final class. Okay, so we'll make it final. Okay, and I will say finish. So now equilateral triangle extends the triangle. Okay, and we will also add the constructor. So I will say generate a constructor from superclass. Okay, so we have an equilateral triangle which is extending the triangle class. Okay, so this is how we use the sealed keyword in class as well as in the interface. So this is how we can simply use the sealed classes concepts in a Java 17. So now let's see what are the benefits of the sealed classes. So sealed classes are used to enhance the security. So this prevents an unauthorized subclassing of critical classes or an interface, which is what we saw in the example, right? This also improves the maintainability and clarity. Since we use the permits keyword, this explicitly tells the compiler that these are the only classes which are used for the implementation purpose, right? This is very easy to understand for the other and makes your inheritance hierarchy very clear. So sealed classes are also allows a developers to control how their API classes or an interfaces are extended and used throughout the application. And this also helps in the compiler optimization. Since JVM already knows what are the classes are used to implement this particular interface, then he use this metadata information for the optimization purpose. So these are the few benefits of the sealed classes. So I hope you understand the concept of the sealed classes and their respective benefits. So if you have any questions or queries for this topic, please add your queries in the comment section below. If you think this information is valuable, please do like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.